I'm Rowlatt, Bookbinder, paper marbler, and we might as well go straight in. Skimming the surface, getting rid of any detritus that may be on there, an old stale ink. First colour. Evenly putting it over so that there's enough of one. Second colour, which doesn't want to spread quite as much. Marion, my wife, she calls it dancing, because usually I marble on Saturday, and what with the jazz programmes, I start moving about all over the place, and it's great fun. Lots of different ways of putting colours on, but I much prefer this. It's quick, it's random. I love watching these colours begin to spread. Sometimes in the winter, when it's really cold, is when you're supposed not to be able to marble, but I do most of my marbling in the winter, these colours begin to go all crinkly around the edge, and they're absolutely stunning. Now, the colours are on. Now, we could print that if we wanted to. No, let's muck it about a bit. Oh, my mum's old knitting needles. But it does the job perfectly. I call this feathering, but the Turks, who are responsible for all this, call it getgel, which means come and go. Now the comb, which is a Dutch comb. That's been going for nearly 17 years. It's a dear old friend, and it's going to go for another 17 years, I hope. That's the magic. I just love that. Can't get enough of it. And then we could print that, but no. Let's give it a curl. Lots of different lovely names from this. Some people call them snails. And if I went round and round and round like that, it's a nightingale's nest. Very gently, slowly rolling the paper on. No air bubbles. There we go, just check. No air bubbles. Here we go. The drying rack. The Japanese probably started floating colours on water, which is called suminagashi, but that's not this style. This is a Turkish or a Persian style that first appeared 500–600 years ago. And it grew from there. It went to Italy, it went to Germany, it went all over the place, and it's just got more and more creative. This is what we start with, carrageen moss seaweed. I get it from Galway Bay in great big bales, and sometimes the GPO sit on it thinking it's a bomb, but this is perfectly okay. And it's wonderful stuff. It's used in dentistry, in the food trade, all sorts of things. But what they use it for is the alginate, which is naturally on the outside of it. But you do, to just prove that it's natural, shells, all sorts of things, sometimes the odd crab craw. I found a pipefish in it once. Lovely little curly thing, beautiful. Once the seaweed has been boiled up, it produces this. Now this is a little bit grubby because it's had about a dozen sheets taken off it, but it gives us this fabulous surface. Let's go straight into that one. And this one is a Spanish. What I'm doing now is just preparing the surface before I start doing this. So very gently, I just want to mix these colours. If I stir it up too much, it all sinks. So I have to just ease it backwards and forwards. Cut up the big blobs of colour. There we go. I mean, that's just wonderful. I love it when you get those eddies. A mirror-like surface. Now, this is the best bit. It's called a Spanish because of what I do when I put the paper down. Go. May have to just check that it's properly spread. No, not quite. There are little areas that haven't quite spread all the way through, and if you print those, they make rather nasty little. I think we've got an air bubble there. Yeah. Instead of putting it down in one movement, get it into a rhythm. This is the one that when the students have a go, they'll get it right to begin with, and then they'll stop, and then they'll carry on again, and it makes the most wonderful effects. But it's not what they want. But I always actually adore it when they do that. In fact, sometimes I actually do it myself on purpose. There we go. Now this is where we got any air bubbles. Yes, there's one there. I've got to wait for the air to come through the paper. Come on. I've been doing this since the mid-70s, and every time I get a buzz. And that's marbling, except for all the preparation. I have a huge pile of marble papers. Now, yes, I can sell them all, but I'd much rather make books out of them. So, a little bit of glue, a bit of book cloth, the spine, get rid of the gunk paper, and then 2 boards. Interesting. But I like things that are slightly unexpected. My favourite tool, an old piece of bone called a bone folder, but without it, bookbinders wouldn't be able to do a thing. And one cover. But we're going to put, this is where the marble paper comes in. This is a PVA. I don't use this for any of my conservation work, but for this, it's ideal. It's a good all-purpose glue. It gives you a little bit of time to manipulate. This is going to be what's called a half-bound book, with the corners and the spine. Let's get it in line. There we go. I'm going to lose that. And then on we go with this one. Again, over the head and tail and the forage. Make sure that bone down, and there's our cover. One other thing that I love doing is marbling book edges. That's always been done. It's been done for a long, long time, but just occasionally, I do it differently. And this is all done before the book is given its shape. So let's put this in now. We don't want the green, we want the blue up to the top. Now, this part here, this webbing is called mull, and that's what helps hold the book together. But the book, this is a hand-sewn book. I sew these by hand, and I sew them onto these tapes. Normally we would use a cotton tape, but in this respect I'm using old vellum. These are old legal documents, little bits of legal document. It's recycling. And then over it goes. Clean my hand. Make sure it's in place, nice and tight. now to the press. And that gets left in there, usually until I've made another one. These books, although they're my production and with my marbling and everything else, I do actually hand sew these books together. But this is how it's done. I use only archival materials. This is a sewing frame, and it has to be, because of the style of sewing, it was done on cords. Now these are hemp cords. Sometimes I use linen. But I am using a linen thread to sew it on. So the leaves, the thread and the cords are one. All books traditionally were produced like this, and then gradually different styles. The reason for doing all this is for giving things back its full life. So it's lasted since 1790, just about. The customer wants it to last for his lifetime and perhaps for another lifetime after that. And then to finish off, we go back into there, which is what we're going to do what's called a kettle stitch. I've recently had all this lot to do, as you can see. Those two big Bibles there, a little Bible here, another early 19th century Bible here. Girl's Own Paper, volume 18. The German Atlas, wonderful book. Oh, weighs a ton. It was in a terrible state, but the customer wanted everything kept, and it has been. And I thoroughly enjoyed doing it. Why do I do the marbling? Simply colour. I'm passionate about colour. I love it. It's wonderful. It's all around us. Let's enjoy it. Why books? I love books. They're tactile things. They're wonderful. They've got history. They're full of the most wonderful pictures, stories, everything. Why conservation? Because of the future. If we don't look after it now, if we don't protect things, if we don't preserve things, we've lost them forever. And so many books have been destroyed recently. We've got to look after them. We've got to look to the future. I came to the Guild in 1995 and went straight into the summer exhibition at Painswick. A wonderful affair. I was over the moon with what it did for me, for the business, and the people I met were a delight. And I soon learnt that the Guild has just done me the power of good.